to Hanoi, and then yeah, so every time I come back, right, my mom taking the whole control of the kitchen. I have no room to enter or making changes for the menu because she is a chef of the family. But the thing is, traditionally, what we do is we have to make offering to our ancestor, and every day she kind of make the same thing. I said, Mom, I cannot do that for 10 days, you know. So on day 10, before I fly back flew back to Saigon, Mom actually asked me, why don't you eat spring rolls? I said, Mom, I can eat that for the first few days, but not on day 10, okay?
Yes.
So I think, well, anyway, I think we all have a good time for this year. COVID is not actually the thing that we concern so much anymore.
Yeah, it's really good.
You know that we are all vaccinated, and then we can travel on around. All right, so I'm gonna start it now. For those who attend our webinar for the first time, my name is Camelia. I am the founder of the Australian Hospitality Alumni Network. For our association, what we actually do on a regular basis is we keep in touch regularly with our alumni, our experts and partners to create meaningful events and activities to support the network in general. On a regular basis, we actually having very regular events. For example, this is one of those examples that we have, that we host our webinar every first Saturday of the month, except for time that we have holiday, then we just skip and then organize the following week. And for today is the day that we have the first event that we have after a big holiday in Vietnam, after the Lunar New Year. We are very excited to start a completely new series that we call There's Nothing Like Australia. And with the presence today from our two beloved experts, Mr. Michael Roberts and Mrs. Karen Goodwin. Well, I hope I spelled your name right.
Yes,
Goodwin
right.
Roberts. Yes, joining us today, and we can basically having a very friendly and cozy environment when you can ask any question that you have. And I'm sure that Michael and Karen would be happy to share any experience that they have as well, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. So can I just check quickly in this room, right? You feel free to open your microphone or your camera, because we don't have, we just have a few people here. So feel free to share. Where are you right now? In Ho Chi Minh City.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, we've been in Ho Chi Minh City for a couple of days. We're heading back to Da Nang this afternoon.
Yes.
So it'll be nice to go home. Ho Chi Minh City is a beautiful, beautiful city. We love it. A nice place to visit. It's a bit busy.
Is there anybody not from Ho Chi Minh City today?
Sorry?
I'm just asking the audience to see if we have people from different cities as well. If you can also, like, either you can open your mic or you can drop a comment in the chat box.
Hello, I am from Hanoi.
Oh,
hello.
hello.
I think we actually have a couple of different, before we start this webinar, we actually have a small little chat with some of those participants who arrived on early. And we also have a couple of lecturers as well from other university joining us. And they happen to be the Australian alumni as well from Queensland. So Miss Tuyết, who just spoke now, she is a graduate from Queensland University. Also in hospitality and tourism. So we actually have a full room of experienced alumni and experts as well. Okay, so let me focus on the topic of the day. When we say there's nothing like Australia, and our first stop is from Tasmania, and what I'm gonna get you through today is it's not going to be a lot of technical words or complicated thing. I'm just going to show you pictures and videos. So I think that would be more fun. So the first thing that I want to show you, just want to explain why the series is called There's Nothing Like Australia. Okay, from what we have here in Vietnam, from our own culture and history with Australia, we actually, the two countries are really good friends for a long time. I think at least, maybe for 2 or 3 decades already, that the relationship between Australia and Vietnam have been very tight. And when I was a little kid, I used to watch television a lot because that's the only thing that we have for entertainment. So every day we turn on the TV and we watch the advertisement and everything that came up. I think some of those, there's one very famous advertisement say, the idea is actually to introduce something got to do with Australian style. And the ideas behind it is everything in Australia seems to be very different. For example, drinking beer like an Australian and do something like an Australian and things like that. So even in Vietnam, we have a small little idiom like for anything that have nothing to do with what you're having right now, we say, are you doing that Australian style? Because it turned out to be the opposite. So for example, what we have before I came to Australia, I think I arrived to Australia in July in 2009. Okay, so in Hanoi at that time, because it was like boiling weather, almost 40 degrees. But in Australia, it was so cold because I went straight to the Blue Mountains. I think the weather there around, I think probably 5 degrees or something. So the first thing that I see is, yes, they celebrate Christmas in July. And that's the first thing that I see that's really Australian from what I see in a way is they just do things differently. Okay, so there's something called Christmas in July happening to be in where they have winter and the rest of the world we're still in very warm summer. And what I like as well about Australia is actually the spirit after all, because I think whether you believe or whether you agree with me or not, the Australians are known for being very laid back in a way, because you are so lucky to have beautiful beaches and you enjoy the sunshine, the beaches and beautiful natures and landscape. You have great wines and trees and everything else. Like food is amazing. And that is one of my favorite quotes. I actually use that and that inspired me a lot when I hosted the Australian Hospitality Alumni Network Connection Day. While reading the quote, don't worry about the world is going to end today because it's already tomorrow in Australia. So every time we celebrate New Year, Australia is actually one of the first countries to have fireworks and all that sort of thing. And that actually lifts our mood a lot every time we feel sad. And we know that, yes, it's already tomorrow in Australia, you know, so it's not end of the world. Basically, that's what it means. Okay, but other than that, for those who study tourism, I think there is something interesting for you to know, because the tagline, there's nothing like Australia, is actually a very big campaign from the Australian government to promote Australia. And with this, I just want to put out a quick disclaimer saying that while you join this program, it could be a bit dangerous because it could put you in a holiday mood, okay? Because you might as well just want to book a flight back to Australia for Karen and Michael and those who want to go back. So I'm gonna play the video now just for you to have a quick look about There's Nothing Like Australia.
There's nothing like it, is there? No.
There's nothing like the sunrise, that first wave of the day.
The trip along the coastline.
It's right across the bay.
There's nothing like this ancient place.
The sunset from a camel.
This organism.
This billabong. Oh, this dark-billed mammal.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da.
There's nothing like the people here.
Or here. Or here. Or there.
My mates up here.
My friends down there.
There's nothing like this bear.
That's not a bear.
There's nothing like this giant shrub.
Here's your up.
This bird. There's nothing like these furry things that bounce around in herds. There's nothing like Australia. There's nothing like Australia.
There's nothing like
This wondrous land from Darwin to Mount Strait.
There's nothing like the people here where everyone's your mate.
There's nothing like Australia.
There's nothing like Australia.
There's nothing like
Okay, so there's nothing like Australia. How are you enjoying the video? You're missing home already?
Yes, made us a little bit homesick momentarily.
Yeah, I know. And then for those who've been in love with Australia as well, we just want to book our flight right now. Either anywhere in Australia is fine right now. So it's a really happy moment that we have, and for those who have a relationship with the country as well, we just can't wait to go back. And we all know that there's some good news from the government that the Australian borders have now been open from the 21st of February, when you can travel back to most Australian states right now. Of course, there's going to be a couple of different restrictions, so if you make sure that you check with your either travel agent or the embassy or consulate here in Ho Chi Minh City before you book your travel arrangement. So, so that would be it for There's Nothing Like Australia. I want to bring you to the first stop of all different beautiful states and cities in Australia. We're gonna stop first in Tasmania. Actually, it's kind of funny because Tasmania is probably not the first destination, right? When we open up a big map of Australia, there's actually a state that is down under. Am I correct, Michael?
Yeah, that's right, Camelia. Tasmania is down under.
Yeah.
So we don't have any international flights to Tasmania. So if you're going to Tasmania, you'll land in Melbourne or Sydney, probably. And then you need to catch a domestic flight to Tasmania.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just going to ask some random question as well along the way when we giving introduction about Tasmania? Can you for those who do not know, okay, Michael and Karen, they are right now working in the same company and they're married. So there's a lot of different story for them to share, either come into work, a relationship, or personal life, and some other life experience that they have as well. And this is one of the most interesting couples that I have ever met, traveling all around different area, and in Vietnam as well. They have so much experience. So today we're going to get them to share some of the stories that they have with us. Okay, my first question that I have for you is, what relationship did you have with Tasmania? Are you born there, or you just growing up there, or how is it? How well do you know about Tasmania?
I'm a sixth generation Tasmanian. So we were there. We came to Tasmania just after the first settlers arrived back in the early 1800s. So my family has been, I have a mixture of different nationalities in my family, mostly from Scotland, Ireland and England. And my family in the last 3 generations have been involved in the hospitality and tourism industry. So I'm very proud to say that I'm a 6th generation Tasmanian, because there's lots of new Tasmanians there now. You know, people are wanting to go to Tasmania, wanting to go there to live. It's such a beautiful island that people want to go there. And I can understand that completely, but I'm very proud to say that I'm a true Tasmanian.
Wow, that is very exciting to know, to become the 6th generation in Tasmania. What about you, Michael?
Well, on my mother's side, yes, I'm also 6th generation.
Wow.
My great-great-great-grandfather was convicted of stealing a sheep in England. So he went to Australia as a convict, to Tasmania as a convict. He was actually sent to a place called Maria Island, which is off the east coast of Tasmania. And I still have family in that area now. And in fact, where we live in Tasmania is just near Maria Island. So we can see where my forebears actually spent time in prison, if you like. On my father's side, he was a 10-pound pom. So he came out after the Second World War, met my mother and married. So yeah, we both have a strong connection to Tasmania.
Well, okay, so that's how I can feel really confident as well to bring you as our guest speaker today, you know, because I am sure that if there's any question that we got to ask about Tasmania, we know who to ask. Okay, and which part of Australia, Tasmania do you live?
I've always lived in Hobart. My family has always lived in Hobart. So ever since we arrived, and we have children and grandchildren now, so they're 8th generation. But
Wow.
but yes, my family's basically from Hobart, and we've lived in Hobart and the areas around there for 6 generations.
Is it the same
What
for
about-
you, Michael?
No, well, my family, as I said, was based on the east coast of Tasmania, about 80 kilometres north of Hobart. I mean, I grew up in Hobart, but as I said, Karen and I have some property on the east coast where my family was from. So we've gone back to my roots, if you like.
Okay, I have a question. You can tell us, or you can say no to these questions, okay? But how did you meet each other?
We met our paths crossed many years ago because we both went to the same hospitality college.
Okay.
Back when I was
A long time ago.
17, 18, so a long time ago. And Michael was 2 years above me at the training college. I was a first year student. He was a third year student. And we just sort of.
I didn't know Karen then, by the way.
No. But we found out after we started dating that that yes, we had been to parties and places, a long time before.
Yes. Well, so you actually, in the same college. It's interesting.
Yeah, so I started our training in the first college, and then we ended up both working there. And Michael was working at the Sheraton, and he had just finished at the Sheraton and had come back to do some teaching at Drysdale, I think, hadn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
And in food and beverage, and then I was doing some cookery teaching. So our paths crossed again, and they just kept crossing over each other for about 5 years.
Destiny, you see.
Yes, yeah. And then we sort of
got married.
Yes.
It's interesting because the way you tell me, I just feel like, okay, you met at the college and then you've been seeing each other, and I feel like there's no one else can get in between you two during all those years. So it was really.
Well, people did. It was a long time from college to when we got married. It was about 20 years almost. So,
wow.
Yeah. And we'd been married before and had children, and now when we met each other, we became quite a blended family. And then we had a daughter. So we've
and
got
how big is the family now you have in Australia?
We have 4 children.
Okay.
4 children and 3 grandchildren.
Wow.
Yes. So Michael has a son. I have a son and daughter, and then we also have a daughter.
Can I ask this question, right? In regards to the culture point of view, do you think that in Tasmania, in terms of the tie, the family ties in area like Tasmania, could be somewhat stronger than other regions of Australia? Because when you tell me about all those generation and you have big family, that reminds us that I find it quite similar to us, what we have in Vietnam here.
I think that it's moved, hasn't it? Especially our generation, because
I think so.
Our generation and our children's generation have been ones that have moved. Whereas when we were growing up, we were very close with our cousins and our aunties and uncles. But I would say our children aren't as close as what we were. Would you say that?
Yeah, in terms of their cousins and aunts and uncles and so on. Yeah, I think with our parents' generation, families were still quite a strong unit. Probably not as strong as in Asian cultures, and obviously we know Vietnam best. Certainly not as strong as Vietnam, but there's a sort of it's part of the Australian nature to be very strong and independent. And all of our children turned 18 and left home. Basically, went overseas. Our youngest daughter got a backpack for her 18th birthday and went to Europe, and she didn't come back for 2 years. So that's fairly common in Australia.
Yes.
We're still very close with our families, but the family unit is not anywhere near as strong as it is in Vietnam.
Yeah, so it's more like staying far apart, but it's closer to the heart. It's something that we normally see. And I'm not surprised anymore that you are now in Vietnam as well, because in their own go in different places, and you also choose your own way as well to start a life here with us in Vietnam. So
Yes.
we're very, very happy to have you here with us, by the way. Okay, so what do you like the most about your hometown?
We call Da Nang our
Tasmania.
hometown.
About Tasmania. Oh, now you call that the hometown, I can tell now. Okay.
Our hometown's Da Nang.
That's right.
So okay, we asked about Tasmania first.
Okay.
Well, look, Tasmania is a very clean island. You know, Tasmania is run by 100% renewable energy. Since 2016, it's net carbon zero, which net zero carbon. It's a very clean place. It's what the rest of the world is trying to achieve by 2030 or 2050. So it's very unpolluted. The water is very clear. We have beautiful farmlands, and subsequently we have fantastic food. So the primary product in Tasmania, you know, the food, the wine, is all very natural and organic and delicious. So, you know, I suppose if we were to, besides our family and our friends, of course, if we were to sort of think about what we miss about Tasmania, it's probably access to some of that product. And, you know, we were actually in Annam Gourmet yesterday, walking around, because we do love to go to food shops. And there's a number of Tasmanian products in Annam Gourmet now, which is wonderful to see. And I guess with, you know, freight picking up again, I read the other day that there's a direct flight daily with Qantas freight, Melbourne to Ho Chi Minh City. So I guess we'll be seeing a lot more Australian and hopefully Tasmanian product in supermarkets here, you know, in the near future.
Yes,
But yeah, the primary product, the food and the wine and the cheese. You know, every time we go there, we take empty suitcases so we can bring back suitcases full of, you know, wallaby meat and lamb
wallaby.
And wine and cheese.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think the air, the fresh air.
The fresh air.
And it's because it smells very different. I think each country smells different in some ways. When you get off the plane, or you come, you know, and you come and you can smell. And I know that when we get off the plane in Tasmania, it makes the smell is different, and it's very fresh, isn't it? The fresh air.
Yeah, extremely fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that is
And
why.
cold, and cold as well.
And gets cold. Yes, yes. But
okay.
it's the fresh air is what I would miss.
Okay, I'm going to get into that in the next couple of minutes, but right now I would like to invite you to watch a quick video about Tasmania, just to see some quick recap about what we need to know about this beautiful state, Australia.
There's nothing like it, is there?
Sorry, that's not this. The next one. This one. This one is about Tasmania. You can see that now we have more domestic flights to Tasmania already.
Yeah.
good video.
Well, I think it's just so hard. Like when it comes into having that beautiful hometown, from what I say, to live for another hometown here in Da Nang that you have today. And I think for those who have been familiar with the AHA Vietnam, you know that we have a recent article on our website, Taxi to Vietnam, Meet the Robbers, Make Every Day an Adventure. Is one of my favorite tagline of all time, knowing that we have two of our, I would have to say, famous taxi, make all the way here to Vietnam and living a completely different life. And that's why we have it today. I think the reason that I know both Michael and Karen as well is on thanks to the hospitality. I first met Michael in Hanoi when I also worked for him for another hotel, and then we get to know each other. And Michael was the executive director of the Australian Chamber of Commerce Vietnam, and Karen is currently the lecturer. She's actually the head of hospitality at the Pegasus International College. And I think Michael, afterwards, you also gave up on living in big cities and joined Karen. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. We found that commuting between Saigon and Da Nang was a bit of a drag, and Karen was really doing it 3 weekends every month, and it became just, not much fun. So yes, I resigned from the chamber, and my wife very fortunately gave me a job at Pegasus. So I teach the Advanced Diploma of Hospitality Management course.
So now she's the boss, right? Oh, she's
always.
Okay. So she's actually the boss by own means. Well, I just want to give also a little bit of how I myself capture your life in Da Nang. You spend a lot of time with your students. So I have a couple of pictures here. I know that Karen's birthday was very recent. So happy belated birthday from here, from AHA. And I see as well some many beautiful pictures taken with your students here at the Pegasus as well. All those beautiful pictures that you have during the Teachers' Days and everything else. So how's your life in your new hometown in Da Nang?
We just love it. The weather is so different from Tasmania. And I think it's the weather and the students. Because we like the hot weather, but we have such wonderful students at school. So it's always a pleasure to teach them. It makes us feel really motivated to teach because our students want to learn. And then we come home and we have such a wonderful choice of food in Da Nang. We can go for a walk, we go for a bike ride. We just sit at home, listen. It's just very relaxing as well. So yeah, we just enjoy each day. That's what we do.
You feel it difficult to choose right now, right? If I have to say that I have you the option now to go back to Tasmania to live or to live here in Da Nang, do you think it's going to be a very difficult decision you have to make? No?
No.
Our plan, I suppose, longer term is to live for 10 months in Vietnam and maybe spend a couple of months in Tasmania. But look, the last time we went back to Australia, which is now almost 2.5 years ago, because obviously the borders have been closed. The last time we went back to Tasmania, we were there 2 weeks and we just couldn't wait to get back to Da Nang, or get back to Vietnam. This country has had a profound impact on us in terms of now what we now value in life, I suppose. So as I said, of course, we miss our children and we've and our friends, but we've got FaceTime. So and we're constantly on the phone with our kids and our friends. So we're not completely isolated from them.
Well, yes, I think that would be the best of both worlds when you can still travel back home to Tasmania and then seeing. I think I like what you said about what you value the most during this time, right? Because when we have in different stage of our life. We value different things, and obviously the impact that you have made here for the city of Da Nang as well, while growing different generations of students who study hospitality and tourism is actually what our country needs as well, because that's something that we actually really need to bringing the new international standard of teaching, so that they know what to do and what to apply into our saying still consider emerging industry right now for Vietnam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back a bit about Tasmania. When I watched the video, they say that the size of Tasmania is somewhat like Switzerland. So it's like almost another country to fit into this map. And I have it here, a quick, a small little map here with some key area of Tasmania. I can see that Hobart is number 1 here.
Yeah.
Is Hobart is the capital, like so-called the capital of Tasmania? Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yes.
It's geographically about the same size as Da Nang, but with only 200,000 people, so a much smaller population. But yeah, it's about the same size, as I said, geographically as Da Nang. It's the second oldest Australian capital. It was established in 1803, which of course by Asian standards is just a baby. But we've got a couple of 100 years of history in Hobart. We live on the east coast, so the pale blue area there. I can't read the names, but
where there's Triabunna. Yes.
Triabunna.
And Maria Island, that light blue area is where we have some land.
And we have some family up there as well. So that's where we come from. But it looks like quite a small place. If you're not familiar with the size of Switzerland, Tasmania fits quite snugly into northern Vietnam. So it's about the same size as northern Vietnam.
But geographically, like it's quite hilly in the centre, and people come to Tasmania for a holiday, for a 1-week holiday, and they say, oh, we'll spend a week in Tasmania and we'll see it all. Well, you don't see it all. It takes nearly a day to drive from Hobart to the west coast because it's not a straight road.
That's a very windy road.
Yes. Yeah.
The question that I want to ask as well, like what would be your recommendation in terms of the length of stay? But I guess for such a big area like this, you must live here for 6 months at least.
Well, at least a month. You need at least a month in Tasmania, and of course, most people don't have a month to spare. So, Tasmania as a holiday destination really is a multiple visit type destination. So, don't ever try and see it all in one trip. Go and spend a couple of weeks in the south and the east, then go back and fly to Launceston perhaps and see the northwest coast. Go back again and spend some time on the west coast, because from the east coast to the west coast, the island is completely different. Completely different. So the east coast is all beautiful beaches and so on. The west coast is extremely rugged. So the west coast is subject to the roaring 40s, which is the wind that comes from the tip of South Africa straight across the Indian Ocean. They're pretty rugged people on the west coast of Tasmania. And the weather conditions are pretty interesting, let's say. Okay, so yeah.
So while saying that the Tasmania state is actually quite big, what are some of the key highlight attractions that we must see when we come to Tasmania?
Well, there's a lot of food attractions, isn't there? It depends what
many.
Yeah, like there's food attractions, there's outdoor areas. So if you like walking and seeing the views, we've got some wonderful walks. There's Three Capes Walk, Bay of Fires, Overland Track.
And the wildlife is fascinating.
Yes, we sit at our place on the east coast, and the wallabies just come jumping past us. So at night time, so we've got plenty of wallabies and wildlife in Tasmania. Yes, because you can spend time just going to wineries and trying the different types of wine. You can go to the different cheese places. There's they sell seafood, all around the coast, so you can try different types of seafood. It's all fresh, it's all cold water, so it has completely different flavour and taste to what Vietnam's seafood is like. So, like, yes, it depends on what your hobbies and what your interests are, because to fit in a walk, an overland track, 5 days just to walk from Dove Lake to Cradle Mountain, isn't to? Yeah. So that could be quite a long walk, but you could also spend 5 days doing all the wineries around Hobart and the Huon Valley.
Wow. It's such very diverse when it comes into food experience.
It's extremely diverse. Yes. Yep. And we sometimes used to drive to Launceston to try new restaurants.
Which is the northern part.
It's about a 2-hour drive, 1.5, 2 hours drive from Hobart to Launceston. So we would drive to Launceston and just stay the night, or go up to the northwest coast if there was new restaurants or new products being launched, because so many people around Tasmania are making products, whether it's whiskey, gin, wineries, cheese, chocolate. It's all around Tasmania that's happening.
Yeah, so it really is a food bowl, Tasmania. But and obviously that's a passion of ours, so we have a strong interest in it. But as I said, the scenery and the nature and the wildlife is also, and the history is also, key reasons why people travel to Tasmania and spend time being there.
I think you have just given me so many reasons as well that I need to go to Tasmania very soon, because apparently these Tasmania and Darwin, Western Australia are the 3 states that I haven't had the chance to visit, and Tasmania sounds very interesting and very unique. Because I do not,
and many people that live on the mainland, they originated in Tasmania, because all the convicts that came from overseas, from England and Ireland and Scotland, they came to Tasmania. And I forget how many convicts actually came to Tasmania. There was
it's about 35,000, I think, from memory.
No, I think there's more than that. Yeah, there was a lot of convicts came to Tasmania, and then after they finished, they would get a ticket of leave, and then they would go to the mainland. So a lot of mainland people, their history started in Tasmania when they first came to Australia. So they've got that there's that history as well. We have a lot of Aboriginal history in Tasmania. The Aborigine people were the first people that were in Tasmania hundreds of thousands of years ago. And now we're looking at changing some of our names back to Aborigine names of places.
Yeah, so traditional names, as opposed to the names that were given to the cities or the places by the English.
Wow. Okay, just touching a bit for the weather, because I remember you mentioned that it could be really cold in Tasmania. So can you just brief us a bit, how is it like to live in Tasmania for 12 months, for example, and what would you recommend as the best time to visit Tasmania?
Well, about now is the weather is really settled and calm. So the end of summer, beginning of autumn is a beautiful time. Of course, it's a bit cooler. I think when I Skyped my mother this morning, she told me it was about 30 degrees. It was going to be 30 degrees today, which is lovely. But tomorrow it could be 12. So you need to be very prepared for 4 seasons in very short succession. So for probably 9 months of the year, it's not warm. You really need to rug up. But it's, as Karen said, the air is so beautiful and fresh, and everything else is so wonderful that you don't seem to mind that too much. It is quite a windy place. Because of the roaring 40s I mentioned earlier. The first cyclone that we had in Da Nang was in 2016. Typhoon, cyclone, yeah. And I said to Karen, it's just like a windy afternoon in Hobart. It's not, doesn't seem to be that serious. So it's a bit windy, more on the west coast than the east coast, but Yeah, it's very diverse in terms of its climate, and there are 4 distinct seasons. So summer can be quite warm. Autumn is beautiful in Tasmania
It's my favourite season is autumn. It's beautiful
because of the changing of colours in in the trees and so on.
Okay, so when you say autumn and summer, which month of the year you actually want to refer to?
Summer, we're talking 1st of December to the end of February.
Okay.
And then autumn until the 1st of June, and then winter from June to September. Then we have spring.
Okay.
So, but winter in Tasmania, although it's cold, can also be extremely attractive because the weather, once again, is very settled. And on the East Coast in particular, it doesn't rain a lot. So we don't have lots of rain on the East Coast. And of course, in the central part of Tasmania, in the Central Highlands, where Cradle Mountain is a very distinctive and beautiful place for people to visit because it's covered in snow, which has its own attraction. So, yeah, very diverse seasons, very different seasons. But yes, you need to make sure you've packed your winter woolies. And you go to Tasmania, whether it's in the middle of summer or the middle of winter, you would never go to Tasmania without something warm to wear.
Okay. All right. I think that is really good tips for us to get prepared because the weather can be predictable. After listening to you, it's something that I gained from. For everyone who attend, if you have any questions, feel free to open your mic or drop a question in the comment box because I'm just moving to the next one right now. Okay, I found a very interesting book online. Well, this is the cover that I found called The Island Harvest: Celebrating the Seasons in Tasmania Kitchen, written by Karen Goodwill Roberts. Karen, this is your book, right?
Yes, that's my second book. And it's about the seasons in Tasmania. Autumn is my favourite season, especially with the product that we get in Tasmania, with the leaves, with the change of season. It's more settled, the weather in autumn. So it's my favourite season. But the book is that I've picked some ingredients available at the 4 different seasons. And the book is written with a little bit about each of the products, how it grows, where it grows in Tasmania. Then there's recipes for those ingredients. And then it finishes at the end of each of the four chapters with some sort of an event. So when we did the autumn event, it was an autumn lunch in a vineyard. So we set up the table in the middle of the vineyard, and the recipes that were in the book we put on the table and we ate them. For winter, we did it in a beautiful historic house called Runnymede House, and we did a nice warm winter's evening dinner. Springtime, we did on the East Coast up at Avalon, which is a beautiful Airbnb holiday house that people can rent. Sits right on top of a cliff overlooking not the Bay of Fires, but where Wineglass Bay is. So the Hazards, so it's got a beautiful view sitting right on a cliff overlooking, well, Moray Island's a little bit south, isn't it? Yes. And then looks over towards the Hazards, where there's some really good walks to Wineglass Bay, etc. So we did a brunch there. And then the final chapter is out on a boat where we went fishing, and we went out on a good friend's boat on the Derwent River and caught the fish, cooked the fish, ate it, and had a lovely summer's lunch. A lot of people have boats in Tasmania because it's an island. So a lot of people go out fishing quite regularly. For the weekends, they might just go to their holiday house, to their shack, and go out fishing. Lots of good fish and seafood available around Tasmania. So the book is about the four seasons, lots of recipes, not too hard, and then you can make an event out of each of the seasons as well. And it was really good writing because we went to meet lots and lots of producers. One thing that when we had our cafe and our business in Tasmania, we knew all of our producers. We knew where all our food came from. We knew all the wineries, we knew the winemakers, the pork that we had on the menu. I knew the pigs with the lamb, the sheep, old breed sheep that we had. So it was really good getting to meet more of the producers in Tasmania when I wrote that book. And then it was also good for our business because we could actually promote their produce in our business. But yeah, the book's sold out now. So.
Yes, I was trying to find myself a copy as well, but it's very difficult. Maybe we have to do something, maybe just to influence the publisher that they need to print additional copies.
Print some more, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I would like to update it. You know,
yes.
do a second edition to that book. And the first book I wrote, Picnics in Paradise, was a travelling book that you could pick up and you could travel around Tasmania with the book. And it told you where all the producers were on the East Coast, where the wineries were, when you could stop, what you could get there, what you could buy as you're travelling up through Tribunna. You could stop at a fish farm and you could buy some fresh mussels and then stir fry them on the beach, on a barbecue. So all the dishes in that recipe could have been made around the state. So that was a really, really good book to write as well, the first one, Picnics in Paradise.
Karen, I think the next step is not only about asking them to print more copies of the books, but we also have to make video versions based on our real life experience. Like for example, I'm gonna make my trip soon to Da Nang to visit the kitchen. So probably
yes,
we can do some demo if I am invited, okay?
Yes.
And also even audio version to share some information, because sometimes people don't read anymore, and if we have the electronic version as well of the book, that can be very helpful. So yes, but I would love to have a copy of this book if I could, but let's
see if I can find one.
Yes.
I can find a copy.
I think that is so exciting, and something that we definitely need to touch on that when we want to learn more about Tasmania. And obviously, we cannot skip about the knowledge of the food and travel experience as a whole. Karen, who inspired you to become a chef?
Probably my mother. Mm-hmm. When we were young, we lived in hotels, and my family, my dad and his brothers and my grandfather all had a hotel in Hobart. So we had 5 hotels, and we moved into them when my 2 sisters and myself were only very young, and we spent a lot of time with our mother in the kitchen. And on Sundays we would go driving in the Derwent Valley or down to the Huon Valley and buy produce, and then come back and prepare it ready for the counter meals during the week. So we spent a lot of time in the kitchen. Both my sisters are chefs too, and they're both still cooking, although they do have other careers. One's a hairdresser and one's a nurse, but they ended up cooking. So they cook at places in Tasmania. One of them works at a winery, another one has a cafe. So yeah, it was probably my mother, my grandmothers. We spent a lot of time in kitchens growing up, and we also spent a lot of time eating out. My parents used to put our pajamas on myself and my 2 sisters and take us out for dinner in our pajamas, and my younger sister would sit in a high chair and we would have dinner on Saturday nights or Sunday nights out in a restaurant. So we learned a lot about eating out, about good food when we were growing up. And,
well, I think I'm not sure if I'm right when saying this, but I have a feeling that most the chefs that we know as well become chefs because they got inspired a lot from their home kitchen while eating what their mother cooked. But the majority of chefs that I know are own male. So basically, I don't see a lot of female chefs. So how is it for you to become a female chef? Do you see any difficulty and challenges for you?
I think it would be good to see more female chefs. I'm training about 50% female, 50% male at the moment at Pegasus International College. So, women are trying to be chefs as well. It's a lot harder industry for them to go into. But I think that a female chef does have advantages over male chef in lots of ways. When I was doing my apprenticeship, there was only me and another girl, and she's had a very successful career working at Government House in Tasmania. So I have seen it changing over the years. It is hard, but you know, they're good too, and there are lots of very good female chefs around the world.
I'm sure. And within the network of the AHA as well, we've been talking to a number of hotel general manager. One of the most interesting topic that we've been discussing as well is to promote the diversity in the workforce in the hospitality. So including the fact that we are very keen on finding the first female chef for an international hotels in Vietnam. So that's probably going to be something that we would love to work with you along the way, just to find our new talent that we can actually develop them and provide equal opportunity for them as well. And not saying that, oh, you are just a girl, you cannot become an executive chef, you know, there's no rule like written in stone that you cannot become a chef, right?
And there are some good chefs. There are lots of female chefs in Vietnam, and there are executive chefs, female executive chefs in Vietnam. And so there's Jane, Jane Nguyen. So they seem to be quiet, they seem to be hide away. Of course, men get more profile than what women do, but they're just as capable. And I would always, you know, we used to always employ female chefs as well. And when we had our business, when would have female and male apprentices working for us. They contribute differently to males in a business, and it's all about teamwork and having a really good balance in a business as well.
I think actually, Camelia, the executive chef at the M Gallery in Saigon is a female.
Okay.
It's just popped into my brain just 1 second ago. And I think she's Australian.
Oh, okay. So I think that was also going to be a good way for us as well to get in touch soon, to inspire other female students right now who dream to be a chef, but still thinking of so many limitations, you know, on them.
Most of our students, in front of house as well, and in management, are female. So, virtually our entire intake, in our intake 2021, late 2021, we had 2 males and the rest were female. So, that's
just changed, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, that's a good thing, because as Karen said, especially when you're teaching management to students, women have a completely different style when it comes to management, which, I think is better. So, more female managers in the industry can only be a good thing.
Yes. Well, that's why we divide the world into half with men and women, and we all play different roles in life. And I really hope that to see more and more female executive or female chef or even hospitality student as well, who see, because the most important thing at the end of the day is we see opportunity instead of seeing limitations. Because from what I see as well, there's not much limitation anymore if we aim to higher goals and achieve beautiful things in life, Okay, so I think that is quite an interesting talk about food and about everything else when we have into where to go, what time of the years we can visit Tasmania. And for me, I just look forward to the real life experience with Karen when I have the chance to join her in her kitchen afterwards. Let me see what I have next on this slideshow. Okay, this is an interesting topic about there's nothing like Australia, because one of the most famous things that I learned about Australia after a few years of staying there is you have interesting friends.
Yes, a very interesting animal.
Yeah, so which one is your favorite animal friend?
Well, we don't have koalas in Tasmania. We have everything. And on the far right, I think, is a bettong from Rottnest Island in Western Australia. We certainly have kangaroos
and wallabies,
the smaller version of kangaroo, wallabies, and we have wombats, which is the wombat is on the left-hand side.
We have really big fat wombats up on the north.
They look like rocks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they run. so running rocks.
I think the interesting thing about all these interesting friends in Tasmania is we don't know what type of family are they coming from. For example, looking at the wombat, I don't know if they are like some sort of big rat or they are a pig.
Wombats are really fat. You know, they don't.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't really look. The paddy melons
Like a
look
very
more like
fat
a rat,
dog
don't they?
with
Yeah.
short legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're
Okay.
marsupials, so they actually, just like the kangaroo, they have a pouch that they raise their young in. So you can see a little joey popping out of the kangaroo's pouch there. So there are a lot of marsupials in Tasmania.
Yeah.
And we have an indigenous wallaby. Wallabies are smaller than kangaroos, and on the mainland, and especially in Darwin, Northern Territory, Western Australia, they have really, really big kangaroos.
Yes.
In Tasmania, we have smaller. They're wallabies. They belong to the same sort of family as kangaroos, but they're wallabies and they're much smaller. And we have an indigenous one called the Bennett wallaby, and we have another one called the Rufus wallaby. So we have two main types of wallabies in Tasmania. They can be a bit harmful if you've got a vineyard. They can jump over the fences and eat your grapes and the leaves off the vineyard.
Yep.
And
we
eat
found that out
crops.
firsthand.
Yes. But yeah, we have lots of wallabies. We have Tasmanian devils, which are only in Tasmania as well.
It's indigenous to Tasmania.
Yep.
Yep.
So they're black with some white spots on them, and
That's
they
same
have-
size as a medium-sized dog.
yeah, and they have really strong jaws. So they clean up a lot of things around the bush, and they have a really high squeal as well, so you can hear them at night time. The devil, the wallabies, the wombats, the koalas are from the mainland. We don't have any in Tasmania.
It's too cold for koalas in Tassie.
Yes, yeah. But then we have some little bandicoots, and
We have lots and
There's
lots of wildlife. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like animals, you probably shouldn't go to Tasmania because they're everywhere. And like Karen said, you know, we can be sitting at our place on the East Coast and, you know, we just hear thump, 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 and it's 3 or 4 wallabies running along behind us. So, and of course, we have other things that aren't so pleasant. We have lots of snakes, and all of the snakes that we have in Australia, or in Tasmania, I should say, are poisonous, very, very poisonous. And, you know, we have sharks and we have poisonous spiders, and, you know, I remember.
Actually, you actually have everything. What I found in Australia as well, and then before when I came, people giving so many different guidelines and introduction about Australia, and some of those things have to say with the fact that we have to be very careful the way we treat animals because we don't know. I said that we have to be careful because I feel like everywhere I am, I'm in the national park.
Yes.
yes.
It's the
Driving
national
along
park.
the road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
just
then-
driving along the road at sunset. That's when just on sunset is when a lot of the animals come out because they're evening animals, and you've just got to be careful driving along that you don't run over something because they just can just come bouncing onto the road. So yes, it's like living in a park.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
in a
living in a
park.
zoo, perhaps.
Zoo, yes, a zoo, yes.
I worked on an island before, in a resort island, and we have that special bird who come every day to steal our pastry. So we actually get used to the fact that, yes, they are part of our life, and sometimes we have to share a bit with them as well because we cannot find them. We are just in the national park that they are needs to be protected as well in a way, and there's no rules that apply for them. That is a very quick 30 seconds videos explain why you should come to Tasmania. And obviously one of the most interesting fact that we have pointed out from the beginning is the quality of air. Is the best in the world. It's not like second best to none from what we have here as well. So it's a really good place for us to see. Especially, I think that's the winter version of Tasmania. That's why everybody was like screaming, "We're so cold." that it seems to be very fresh, and then we really look forward to breathe the air, because Karen said the smell in Tasmania is different from what we have here, and we would love to come for an experience onto that. All right, I think we reaching really to the end of our talk today, and it has been great. I hope you enjoy as much as I do. Coming up next, I'm not sure what we're gonna have. Today is the 12th. Coming up next, we actually have the Valentine's Day on the 14th of the month. Okay, so for this, I just want to ask you a question, and that is very random. You cannot discuss to each other, okay? I would like to ask you the 3 things that you value the most about your partners. I'm gonna start first with Michael. What do you appreciate the most about Karen?
Her loyalty, her creativity, and her passion.
Okay, so loyalty, creativity, and passion. That's the thing that Michael loves about Karen. Karen, what about you? What are the top 3 things you love about Michael?
His kindness, caring. He looks after me.
That's 3 things.
That's 3 things.
Well, we just have a very long holiday this year, and then jumping next to the Valentine's Day as well, as so many interesting moments that we get to share to each other. I really hope that you have an interesting season, because we have just passed the past 2 years very difficult with COVID and everything else, and people having to live far away from each other. And most of the time when we host meeting as well, we have to do it from a distance. Even right now, you know, I would love to come and see you, but with the distance, there's not much we can do. But thanks to technology, we still have the chance to be connected virtually like now to discuss. And I actually wish everybody a very happy new year, and a lot of exciting things to come as well in 2022. From what we see as well is COVID getting under control, like
Yes.
somewhat under control, because we are all fully vaccinated. And good news from Pegasus as well at many other schools is students are coming back, right?
Yes, that's
It's
fantastic.
been great. It's been wonderful to have our students back in the kitchens, in the food and beverage area, back making coffee, back with Michael up in the classrooms. It's just been wonderful just to have students back in the college, how it was 2 years ago. So yeah, it's really good. And we are hoping to get more students, because there will be lots of job opportunities as the borders countries reopen. The job opportunities in hospitality will be huge. So we need people wanting to get into the hospitality industry.
We would make sure that we're going to give you a hand to 5 people who actually want to gain knowledge in with international education standard as well, with especially for the IHA Vietnam here. We provide a lot of different options for them to get a very good and qualified Australian qualification as well, so that they can learn, study, and gain as much experience that they have when they're still very young, you know, that prepare them to become the leader of the industry. And while talking about coffee as well, there's one event coming up in Ho Chi Minh City that would be our first offline event of the year at the Study Melbourne Hub to explore the Melbourne coffee culture on the 26th of February. This one haven't been advertised yet on Facebook, and we only promote that internally, but yesterday we already had to close the registration because the registration have been full already, and that's actually a really good sign from what we have here as well. And for us, we look forward, I have been discussing with Michael and Karen, and look forward to see you sometime in March, so that we can continue with our talk about food and culture, and also our plan to provide further opportunity for learning, and also for practical and work opportunity for our students as well, for within the hospitality industry. With the audience that we have today, do you have any questions for us before we close the chapter for today? Our audience have been very quiet. which is actually fine because I think with all the information that we have is actually being asked in advance. When I brought up the questions, it's actually the question have been pre-asked by all our participants already. So hopefully after today, we already have an ideas of what Tasmania is about, what is so unique about the place, and also with some additional information about job opportunity and hospitality and tourism from what we have here, moving forward to see how we can develop our future students to gain more knowledge and even a lot more practical opportunity to learn and study in the future. And I just want to thanks everyone, especially to Mr. Michael and Ms. Karen for joining me today with a very insightful section to provide information. And what I enjoy even more is story about your personal life and relationship that you have, and obviously your love for Australia, obviously, but from Vietnam as well, and your passion to grow the new generation in Vietnam to become the hospitality leaders. This is a picture that I took before COVID. So just a small trip that I have to visit the Pegasus before COVID in 2020. And every time when I think about this, I think of really good memories, and I really hope that I have a chance soon to meet all the students in the very near future. Okay.
Good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm gonna stop sharing now, and then hopefully we're gonna meet soon. See you soon in our next event. Bye-bye.
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 Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.